everybody. I would like to invite you to the day of my cancellation. Oh goodness, it's only funny if you've read this book. That's a great way to start a book review for people who aren't gonna watch this if they've read the book. Anyway, today we're gonna start with my non-spoiler thoughts on State of Fear by Michael Crichton. I'm so excited to be back in the world of Michael Crichton. He's such an amazing author. This book was his most controversial. So I'm just gonna give a disclaimer here. I'm not going to talk about anything political here. I don't really want to hear about the political side of this. It's just a great book. And to be honest, to argue with Michael Crichton is a little sad because he was a scientist and you're probably not, just saying. But don't argue with me. I don't know enough to make an argument on either side, so please don't just assume that I agree or disagree with this book. It was a great book though, so I still think you should read it even if you disagree, okay? So that's just my disclaimer to start. Please, I don't really care if you cancel me because I'm not doing this for views, but I'm doing this because I love books, and I think you should read books that you disagree with. That might be a hot take, but I really think you should. Read books that you disagree with. It'll help you to form better opinions. It'll help you be more informed, and it'll help you have compassion and empathy for the other side of the argument. And for people who believe other things, I feel like it doesn't matter what we believe, we should first be humans and first be compassionate. So yeah, let's do that and not argue in the comments, please. Again, I don't really know much about the topic. So Crichton wrote this book basically because he saw the media manipulating people into general fear and bending the facts, presenting the facts in a different way to make them seem worse than they were, or just straight up lying. And as a scientist, this really concerned him because he had read the research, he had done research himself, and then he saw the media not out and out saying the opposite, but manipulating it to seem worse than it was, just to get a reaction out of their viewers and just to get more views, because fear sells, basically. And so that's why he wrote this book. I'm not going to talk about the topic. In general, it is about the environment. But you could stick really any issue into this book and it would still basically mean the same. It's just any kind of issue where the media overblows it just to get a reaction, just to get people panicked. And that's basically what Crichton was warning against. Do your research. Don't just believe what you hear, but actually look into it yourself. Which I think is a great message. Even if you disagree with the environmental stuff, you still have to give props to him for doing his research. He read up on the subject, and he does that for all of his books. Even if he's doing sci-fi, he'll still research to where scientists have gotten to and then fill in the rest. So it's very believable because he's using real science, even though it's science fiction. And the same thing here, he is using actual research about the environment in this book, but not in a dry, dusty textbook kind of way. He'll just mention a fact and then back it up in a footnote, which is nice because if you're not interested, you can just skip them. But if you are interested, you could either go look into it or at least just know that he's done his homework, which is amazing and part of why I love Crichton so much. So the thing about this book also is, even if you don't care about the topic, it's still an amazing story and it still has great characters. This is one of his that has one of the best character works ever of all of the books that I've read of him, and I've almost finished all of them. There's like 3 more that I have to do. But yeah, he doesn't always have the best characters and he doesn't always have characters you actually care about, but this one he does. This one has great characters. I really enjoy it, especially the main character, but all the side characters too I really, really liked a lot. So even if you don't care about the topic, you might still really like this book. It definitely has very, very good character work and very good plot and good pacing, even though it's one of his thickest. I don't think there's one that's longer. I think this is his longest work. There might be one that I don't own that's longer. I don't know if Next might be longer. But anyway, it's about 600 pages, I think. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, almost 700 pages. And it was paced amazingly. There was only one chapter that was a touch slow, and it was kind of meant to be for a joke. But the rest of it's incredibly well paced and very, very thrillery. Like, one thing after another thing after another thing after another thing happens, and it just really gets you reading. So this I read in 3 weeks, which is a pretty big book for a 3-week read. And honestly, that's while I was reading a 1,200 page book. So if I wasn't reading that 1,200 page book, I might have read this in a week. So yeah, it was a really well-paced book. And there's only really one negative that I can think of it. So I would have given this a 5 out of 5 if it weren't for one thing. And that's just one scene towards the end. And it's just for the gross factor, not really for not agreeing with it or anything like that. It's just a really traumatic scene. But he's the author of Jurassic Park, so it's kind of to be expected. I feel like, yeah, I've read a lot of his works, and some of them are less traumatic than others. This is more of one that's in the traumatic category, but it's not all the time. It's just like 1 or 2 scenes that are super traumatic. So I almost gave this a 5 out of 5 except for one scene. So that tells you how good this book is. So don't let that one scene sway you. You really should read this book. Even if you just skim that one scene or even skip it altogether, you get the idea. The guy dies and you could just skip that scene and still get the point of the book, if that makes sense. So yeah, please read this book. It is a very important book. It makes a very important point. And even if you disagree with that point, I think it would be good for you to hear the other side of the argument. So that is definitely what I would say for the spoiler-free section of this book. All right, now we got spoilers. So please don't watch this if you haven't read the book. This is the spoiler section. Big spoiler warning here. Characters dying or almost dying or dying apparently and coming back to life, that just made this book so much more fascinating and so much more intense, and I loved it so much. Again, his character work is not the best in other works, so I loved this book. Yeah, it was so intense, and you always weren't sure if someone was gonna die, especially because I just read Timeline. So I was 100% expecting people to die. So it made it really, really intense and really fun to read. Yeah, the character work is just way better in this one than it has been. Sorry, I keep looking down at my notes. The ending was pretty fast and a little too fast, but it was satisfying. It was a good enough ending. I just wish that he had put a little bit more about the 2 characters getting back together, or getting together, Sarah and the main character. I forget his name. Now I'm gonna be mad at myself. Oh, what was his name? That's so funny. Not Kenner. Evans. Whatever, Evans. Anyway, sorry. Oh, that's really bad. It's been a week or 2 since I finished. But anyway, I wish there was more about them getting back together, or getting together. I keep on saying that. It was a satisfying enough ending for this one. Again, the only negative is that one scene, and now we're in the spoiler section. I can just say it. Cannibalism's gross. I don't want to read about it. This would have been a 5 out of 5 book if there wasn't cannibalism. Thankfully, it wasn't very long. It was just like a little tiny section at the end, and then you were done with it, and when you were done with it, you were done with it. So thankfully, it wasn't that long. So that's basically all I have to say. I don't want to leave off of this review on cannibalism. So yeah, I think that's all for today. It's a very good book. You should read it. I guess is all I'm really saying. Again, I'm not really going to go into the science of it. He's a scientist. He does his homework. You can kind of trust that, or go do your own research, and I think you'll see that he did his homework. Smarter people than me have read this book and told me. But also there's footnotes, and you can research that those are real books and that kind of thing. All right. I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.